Welcome everybody to the Rotary Club of Akron August 22nd meeting. My name, for those of you that are visiting and don't know me, I'm Tom Canala. I'm the president of the club this year, 23-24. Thanks for coming. Please stand if you're able to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And for a way test.
With the truth, with fair to all concerned, with the perfect will of every interest, will be beneficial to all concerned.
And I'd like to welcome proud new Papa Connor Jarvis up for the invocation.
Thank you. Slow clap. No. I think I personally held the meeting up, so thanks for holding it for me, Tom. This is, we're quickly learning to juggle with 3 children at the house, so I'm borrowing an excerpt from my devotional today. This isn't custom Connor Jarvis content, all right? So I can't take the credit. So I'm borrowing from the devotional. It started out, check out these impressive statistics on the power that the Hoover Dam generates. Water falls 530 feet into the 17 enormous Francis-type vertical hydraulic turbines, which have a rated capacity of 3 million horsepower. In the record-setting year of 1984, the Hoover power plant yielded a net generation of 10,348,020,000 kilowatts of power. And 11 cities in Nevada, Arizona, and Southern California rely on Hoover-generated kilowatts to light and power their communities, benefiting millions of people. So the purpose behind this is to say that the numbers are so huge, we cannot fathom how much power those generators produce. Yet all of that incredible power is barely a drop in the bucket compared to the vast reservoir of power readily available to God's man, the power of prayer. Check this out. Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us. That's from Ephesians 3:20. So if you just bow your heads with me, I just would pray, Father God, you could bless this meeting, our time together here as Rotarians, friends, colleagues, acquaintances, but all of us united together with a common purpose. And may we never forget the power of prayer and believe in that power of prayer, and that whatever our prayers may be, you would answer them. And certainly what we pray for as a club as we seek to enact positive change in the greater Akron community and united as Rotarians in the world. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please sit. Thanks, Connor. I want to thank Bill and the Bill Companies and Connor Jarvis and Right Lady Jarvis for our IT sponsorship. It makes the technology possible. Appreciate that. Thanks, guys. Before we get into things, I want to mention the sad passing of Mella's brother, Jack. Mella, we certainly hope that you and your family are doing well. And if we can do anything as your Rotary family, let me know. Sure. And also, maybe Dareth and Colonel can speak to this. Lauren Holly's husband had a stroke, kind of out of the blue last week. I understand he's recovering in the hospital. I don't know the details. If you want to share any, you can. If you don't, I understand. It's fine as well.
I don't know a lot. I just know he had a stroke and while we're at the brain 70 with the ICU, but I didn't talk to her and I think he is in a regular room now, so he's fine.
Very good. Okay, thanks for that update. Do we have any Rotary ambassadors or visitors to any other clubs since we last met? Dr. Doug, please.
Ellen and I visited the Cowboys Club to speak about camp and about the Beverly Jungle. We were there 7:15 a.m. Thursday meeting.
Great, thank you. Hi, Cindy. I wasn't calling you out, I was welcoming you. Karen, I don't want to grab you when you just got your food, but as the greeter, do you mind?
We actually don't have any guests.
Aside from our guest speaker today. Okay,
And we have no guests.
all right,
Well, we send your speaker.
great. Thank you very much. I'd like to acknowledge our club member birthdays, even if they're not on today's exact date. Brian Casarco turned 21 on August 16th. Melissa Roof on the 17th. Michael Shear on the 20th. Marcia Holcomb, 8/21. Rick Rogers today. Dr. McGregor today. Fred Swartz on the 23rd, and Lance Keeble on the 25th. I'd like to provide a recap of some recent events since we haven't seen each other in about a week and a half. Well, I guess we saw some of you last Friday. And speaking of last Friday, we had a wonderful event at camp where Rotary International President-elect Stephanie Urchek was the honored guest. I had the pleasure of being there, and with Julie Brandon and a number of you, as well as folks from other clubs. It was a terrific event. Ms. Urchek spoke about Rotary International's strategic plan and vision, focusing on membership and member engagement, which sort of ironically is also what our club is focusing on. So it was a very relevant talk she gave. She was very compelling, and it was a real honor for our district and the camp and our club to host her and have her there for that event. So for those of you who came, thank you. For those of you who couldn't attend, Terry, maybe you know this, I believe there might be a recording of it that I can talk to Cheryl about and post online. If you can, I would encourage you to watch it. It was quite a talk. Additionally, we had a fairly successful dragon boat competition, thanks to Captain Brian Casarco. I'd like to you stand for a moment and talk a little bit about the results and how we did and how that event went, please.
Makers did a really good job.
The wave makers did a really good job. We ended up being in third place in the community division, which also is the hardest division by quite a bit. So we were able to make third place, and we got some awards. So for anybody who hasn't gotten one from me yet, let me know. Other than that, I know we're going to play, I think it's July 20th next year. Connor supposedly is already on the list.
No more children.
That's what you say now.
Are you sure?
No.
You know how that happens, I assume. Okay, thanks, Brian. Yeah, I got to go. I was a little late that day, but it was a real honor and great pleasure to be part of it. I think I was probably more of an anchor than a help, but it was a great event and a lot of fun. Cindy, if I can ask you to stand up. Cindy had a great service committee meeting on August 11th at Akron Family Restaurant, where she had about, I think, a dozen people or so show up and set out the groundwork for many, many service opportunities for the club. And that is starting to take structure, and you'll notice that you're starting to see the Akron newsletter populated with opportunities to sign up for service. And we're going to also have some materials we'll be bringing to meetings in the next week or so where we can sign up and track our efforts. But without further ado, I'd like Cindy to kind of elaborate on this effort. Thanks.
Thank you, Connor. I've already said that we had an awesome meeting, and the energy around service in this group is palpable. It's exciting. We have a lot going on. One of the things I've been working on, sort of like spending money, you know, when you don't write it down, you don't really realize how much you're spending on that one thing. And as soon as you put it in writing, you're like, oh, really? Well, that's what's going on with this group in service. I think we don't realize how much service we actually do. So I've been looking over the past year, and just writing down our efforts, and we're going to get that published for you so you can see what we have done, but more exciting, we're adding to what we're already doing. Marissa has stepped up. She's doing a great job already. One of our newbies, she has stepped up, and that's exciting. Darthan is stepping up, and Liv has offered to step up some of our newest people. It's exciting to get them involved. So you're going to see a lot, and we hope to see you out there in the field. Thank you very much.
Would you like to start circulating those science sheets today?
Sure.
Thank you, Cindy.
And also, I would like to add that I really ordered theirs, and I would love to hear if anybody who has something happening in their life which is fun, other, rather than sympathy. So I would be very happy for it.
So Rotary Cares, Ginny, we should let you know if anything exciting happening, send it to you.
Yeah, let me know what.
Like new babies, okay, all right, that would qualify, all right.
And Jenny, the best way to contact you is via phone, correct? Very good, okay. Noah, do you have any camp updates? I know the season is kind of concluded for the campers, but there's always something going on out there, right?
Well, we really enjoyed having everybody at camp last week. It was awesome to have the international president-elect there. She did a tour. And then we are now Dr. Doug's going to do it, so I won't do it. And then we are gearing up for respite weekends. So those start here in a couple of weeks. It's hard to believe, in September they'll be starting, and every other week through the school year. So that's about it right now.
Great, thank you very much. A couple of announcements. The food bank, David Hall is going to have folks at the food bank on August 23rd, I believe it is. Dave, is that right?
Yep,
Tomorrow. Tomorrow, oh geez, that's tomorrow, holy cow. Okay, where'd the time go? And you have a team assembled for that?
Yeah, we have about 8 or 9 people.
Very good, and that's kind of an ongoing effort. There'll be future opportunities if you miss tomorrow. I've done it, it's great, a lot of fun, and Dave is a benevolent leader and boss, so he doesn't crack the whip too hard. Dr. Doug, do you want to speak to the cornhole tournament, which is fast approaching?
And on the tables and on the website and my Facebook and in club Facebook, is a reminder about cornhole coming up this Saturday. And kind of to Cindy's point, we've always emphasized sponsorships and coming and playing in the tournament, maybe coming by to watch. But we do have some volunteer opportunities there as well, and that's the list that's coming around now. Come out and spend a couple hours helping to run the tournament, selling tickets, passing out stuff, monitoring the. One of the things that we borrowed from Chili Open is a beer table. So that's always seems to be popular. Chili Open, we have opportunities there as well. I think Susan's volunteering for the beer table. I see her waving her hand over there. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Susan Coble Hall. And see Susan for your beers later on. But yeah, come down to camp on Saturday. Bring friends, bring prospective Rotarians. They get to see. It's a good opportunity to see camp. It's a good opportunity to see a fun fundraiser. Thank you.
Thanks, Doctor. I was remiss in not mentioning Susan's husband, Steve. Has gone through a traumatic surgery, but is on the mend. And so please keep him and Susan in your prayers. And Susan, if you want to provide an update, feel free, but if I'm putting you on the spot, we understand. Thank you.
Yeah, he's doing much better. I was just there and I'm going back to the hospital. But I also, and thank you for your thoughts and prayers. And he has a long road to home. With his neck cancer, this neck, radical neck surgery. So it's 5 to 6 months recovery. But I also wanted to announce in Jacinto's absence that we have Malou, who has arrived from France. She's attending Still Monroe Falls High School. This is her first day of class. She's absolutely delightful. I'm sure that Liv and Jacinto will have her here soon. She is also talking in French to our exchange student, like Mikaya, who's going out to Brittany, so doing a few lessons online. So, yes. The other thing is that our team here with Rotary beat the Dragon Dream team by, like 0.3 of a second. So we are really proud.
Thanks, Susan. Just a couple of quick announcements, and we'll move into happy dollars. There's an event going on called Pours to End Polio. It's a drinking sort of celebratory thing. It's in the newsletter. It happens on Thursday evenings. It looks like the next is August 31st and September 6th, 14th, 21st, and so on. It moves around from location to location, so they're not all local, but at least one of them is at Wolf Creek, which is pretty nearby. There's one in Hudson, so check that out, and it doesn't cost anything except when you go, I think they take a portion of whatever you eat and drink, whatever you spend on food and beverage, and donate it, so that's a good cause. And lastly, a couple of people have asked me about any effort for Maui and the recovery in Hawaii due to the wildfire, and Shelter Box is partnering up with Rotary, not our club specifically, but Rotary, where if you want to, you can certainly go online and make a donation. We don't have anything available yet, but I will speak to Cheryl and see if we can put some kind of link or QR code on our website. So if that's a passion of yours, certainly those folks need a lot of help. So don't forget about them. Is there anybody who would be willing to collect for happy dollars? Since you're already standing down, please, thank you.
Easy to do. Good to be back. I'm happy.
I have five happy dollars. One of them, or whatever, is for Connor. Congratulations, buddy. Appreciate it. Also, it's really hard to believe that my son started his freshman year of high school today, and my daughter entered into middle school. So we are in a new world right now, and I just happy for him, but my God, I'm a high schooler. And then actually piggybacking off of what Tom just said, so for our club's official first social in a while, we are going to do Thursday, October 5th. That was a to be determined date in Akron, or to be determined location in Akron for the Pours for Pints for Polio. We've confirmed we're going to do Hop and Frog Brewery. There's going to be a private room in the back. So I'm hoping that we can get a bunch of Akron Rotarians there. I'll put out more information, but come support that event. And I was talking to District Governor Mirandel. I was talking to her this morning, and we were confirming everything. So that's, I'll get everything out, but that's October 5th, and from 5:30 to 8, it's kind of an open house type of thing. So we'll be in the new barrel room that Hop and Frog has on the side. So thank you. Thank you, David.
Anyone else happy? I see Dave. All right, I'm going to make my way over. Oh, hold on. Now stop. Sorry. All right, thank you.
All right, guys, so I got 4 quick happy dollars. First, happy for Cindy and our service committee. It's a big deal to have Cindy running that. You know, it's going to be great. President Thomas said this a number of times. Rotarians are meant to serve, meant to get out in the streets. So it's really awesome to have Cindy formally getting involved, helping get that committee back up in shape. So thank you, Cindy. Number 2, just happy for Connor. He's a good dad, good husband, good guy. Really happy on the birth of your new child. Next happy dollar is for Julie, Tom, Mella, Katie, all of our Rotary brass last week. It was really cool having the international president-elect at the Rotary camp. It was an awesome event. Tom was even under the weather, but nobody could tell. He stuck it out, did a wonderful job representing us. So happy for you guys. And then lastly, happy for myself. 2 weekends ago, played in the River City Open at Firestone Country Club, and I won. It's the first big tournament I've ever won for golf. Thank you.
Congratulations. All right. We're at 9. All right. I'm coming over here. Dave. Sorry for the babies.
Things done talking. So I got 3 happy dollars. Number 1, Akron Food Bank is tomorrow. It's always fun time, 4:30 to 6:30. If you want to join, we can still get you in. Just have to make sure you sign up to be a volunteer through the food bank. Afterwards, it's not official, but it's going to be a nice day. I plan on going out to eat somewhere downtown, hopefully at a patio. Would that be like Lock 15 or what's the? Brave is good. Yep, and there's a. Patron? Patron, something?
Yeah. Yes.
They got a great roof patio
Yes.
downtown, so
Mexican.
I'm going to hit one of those places. Anybody's welcome to join either with me, Akron Food Bank after, or just with the food. Second happy dollar is I've missed her a little bit just have been busy. Last weekend was out in Phoenix visiting my daughter, who's a traveling nurse. She's just got out there, is having a great time. It is very hot out there. Dry heat doesn't matter. Hot is hot. But we had a great time. We saw the Grand Canyon, Antelope Canyon, which is beautiful, and just had a really good time being out there. Third happy dollar is for my youngest, who talk about kids. I can't believe I have finally my last kid, David, in her 5th year of college, playing her last year of soccer. So she's taking a COVID year. They started out ranked 15th in the country in Division II, and we're going this weekend to see her in her first preseason game. So she's excited, we're excited, and it's going to be an interesting year.
Go Flagler.
Go Flagler.
Thank you, Dave. Yes, Dr. I'll get you.
Yes, sir.
With the food bank, do you guys accept walk-ins, or do we have to sign up
If you need to be a volunteer, you can walk in, but you need to have signed up for that application. They kind of test it just to make sure you're not. Still let us know.
Thank you.
Actually, I was somewhat disappointed, Dollar. Notice that the lighting in here is really pretty good, that the lighting over the buffet table is kind of dim. So as I was walking up to the table, I'm thinking, wow, this is great. And then I discovered this is not a cannoli.
That's good. Who else is happy? All right, yes, here.
So I have two $200. First one is actually one of the reasons I wasn't able to be at the meeting with the International District Director is that I actually got away, other than going back to see my 90-year-old mother-in-law. We actually got to go to Franklin, Michigan, which is a favorite place we go to and haven't been since before the pandemic. So it's nice to be away. The second happy dollar is that 2 weekends ago, we actually got to see our exchange student that we had 24 years ago. Her husband has a birthday or wedding anniversary gift, I'm not sure which, decided, given the situation right now, would be a good time to come to the United States. And they spent 3 weeks with their 3 kids that are 6, 10, and 14. And it was interesting just get to see her again. She went to Firestone for her senior year. It was a great experience. And we've kept track on them on Facebook, but actually to be able to see them again and see how he actually works for NATO. He's from Belgium, but again, he works for NATO, so that was interesting. And some of their feelings that they have what's going on in the world right now. But their English is very good, so it was a great opportunity. They spent the last 2 days in Washington, D.C. You have to see the 9/11 Museum in New York. And so I think they're flying back to the United States right time for their kids. So that was a great reunion.
Yes, thanks for sharing, Terry. Karen, yes.
So Katie and I never carry money, but between our 2 wallets, we have 4 quarters, a salt packet, and a toothpick.
That's
So.
perfect. Hey, that's perfect discount. I said 5 quarters. So you
Hey, there you go. On your tables is a little card here that has a QR code you can find out. Katie became familiar with the Women's History Project when she won. Quite a few years ago. I became acquainted with it last year when Ginny was nominated. And it is it's not quite a history, but it's kind of lost its history. And now it's with the Summit County Historical Society with a group that's really committed to bring it back. So their luncheon is on September 13th. Katie and I will be there. So we'd love to see some of you guys also come recognize women who have made a difference in our community. So.
With post-COVID lumber prices, that toothpick is actually quite valuable. So thank you. You want to back to that? Anyone else? Okay, yes. Sorry, Susan, yes.
And I'm happy to welcome my former colleague, Alice Christie, who is responsible for getting me to my first Cleveland baseball game. So I'm looking forward to all that she's going to tell us about the history.
Thank you so much, Susan. Welcome. Mike, yes, so far we're at $16.25 plus the going rate for a toothpick's worth of lumber.
No lumber, but previous 3 happy dollars. like many people, super happy that tomorrow the kids go back to school. So one back, one goes back tomorrow, off the video games, back into, just love the routine. Second happy dollar, what a great time doing it wasn't the wave makers, but the paddling, the dragon boat. Never done that before, first time. I missed both practices, unfortunately, but Susan Coble Hall, she was right behind me, and she was just beating me with the paddle to go faster the entire time. So I hope I didn't let you down too bad. That was a lot of fun. Want to definitely do that again. And then the third happy dollar, I went to the President-elect's, Rotary International President-elect, RIPE, event at camp last Friday. Great time. And the thing I took away was that the treasurer position actually has to rotate, and that would be a good thing if they maybe don't stay in their 35 years like the others. So that's. So it was a great time. It was well done. The camp presented itself beautifully, and a lot of fun. Thank you.
Did anyone else that was there catch that she joked that, the president-elect for Rotary International is ripe, but not meant to be anything about age, but I thought it was really morbid that afterwards you are RIP. I mean, RIP's next. I don't know, I thought that was pretty cool.
Seems somehow fitting. Okay, thanks everybody. Thank you, Carter. And now for our speaker. So if I may, I'd like to read a little bit about Dr. Alice Christie. Dr. Christie is a program director for Progress Through Preservation. Dr. Christie hails from Akron and is a passionate and dedicated educator. After graduating from St. Vincent St. Mary High School, she went on to Ursuline College, receiving a BA in art education. She then received a master's in special education from the University of Akron and a PhD from Kent State University in early childhood education. Her professional career highlights include teaching for 5 years in the Akron Public School system and for 18 years at the University of Akron in special education, achieving emerita status, followed by 15 years at Malone University as the Director of Graduate Education, also having achieved emerita status. Dr. Christie is now Program Director for Progress Through Preservation, which was organized in July 1984 in direct response to the ongoing urban renewal policies continuing to change the faces of cities across the country as well as in Akron. Its mission remains to serve Akron and Summit County by actively encouraging and promoting the preservation, maintenance, restoration, and adaptive reuse of buildings, sites, and neighborhoods that are of historic or architectural significance. Progress Through Preservation is a volunteer-led organization that includes more than 250 members. It is moved to initiate or support a variety of historic preservation efforts in Akron and Summit County. In the process, PTP has worked in cooperation with the City of Akron, Akron Public Schools, the University of Akron, Keep Akron Beautiful, as well as local, state, and regional community and historic preservation organizations, including Cascade Locks Park Association, the Summit County Historical Society, the Cowden Valley National Park, Cleveland Restoration Society and its Preservation Resource Center, Heritage Ohio, the Ohio Historical Society, and the National Trust for Historic Preservation through its Midwest office in Chicago. Dr. Christie also serves on the board of Howard House and is a longtime member of the Summit County Historical Society. Dr. Christie's interests include Akron history, antiques, and architecture. She has 1 son and 4 grandchildren. Please welcome Dr. Alice Christie.
Well, I'm going to talk today about historic East Market Street, the private residences. I'm going to show you 18 homes. 17 of them have been demolished and replaced by such things. Well, I'll tell you which one each one was replaced by. But when I started out and gave this presentation the first time last year at our annual meeting, it was an hour long. And then I cut it down, and you're going to get the really, really quick version. Okay. So I don't know how much you know about East Market Street, but it was actually what was called Akron's Millionaires Row. And you'll find it amazing, the houses that once stood there. The first one we'll look at is the O.C. Barber Mansion. And O.C. Barber was known as the Match King of America, but probably he was the Match King of the world, because his company, he united a bunch of different match companies into one big organization, And he, at one time, was making about 60% of the matches in the world. And this is his home before he moved to his Anadine farm in Barberton, which was a huge sort of research farm. And that, most of the buildings, there were over 100 buildings there, most of them have been turned down. But this is his home in Akron. It is across the street. It was across the street from what is now Summit Art Space, that at one time was the library, and it was, when it was built, it was actually the Akron Beacon Journal. The style of his home is an Italianate style, and you will see that 11 of the houses we're going to look at were built in the Italianate style, probably most popular from 1840s to 1870s, some in the 1880s. But we can't talk about O.C. Barber that long because we have to go to the next one. This house was directly across the street, and this is the home of John F. Seiberling. He was Frank Seiberling's father, but he made his money in farm machinery, reapers and mowers. In terms of Akron's business past, Akron started out being a major pottery and clay products center. And then came farm machinery, huge buildings and companies and businesses that made farm machinery. And then came rubber, and then came polymers. So most of these houses are built because of pottery and or farm machinery, but these people, I can't even tell you what all they did because they were multitaskers, and a lot of them made a lot of money in real estate because Akron, they went out and bought all this farmland on the outskirts of Akron and then developed it into lots and sold all those lots, and they made a lot of money. Right next door to John F. Seiberling is his son, F.A. Seiberling, or Frank Seiberling, the founder of Goodyear Tire and Rubber. And his house is older than the one we just looked at, the two we just looked at, because it is a Greek revival style that was popular early on. And this house, we can actually go inside. If we have time, we can go inside another one, but this one I'll show you right now. Oh, first of all, I love this because it shows you the street scene. It was just a beautiful residential street. And both of these houses are where the Summit Art Space is now. And this is the interior. It's a super embellished, over-decorated Victorian interior. And there's another view. And I love the light fixtures. But I have several more photos, but this is an abridged edition, so we're moving on. Okay, basically across the street was the house of David L. King. And he was an attorney, and his wife, Betty, was the grandniece of George Washington. And they were like the big society party throwers in Akron. This house was built in the 1840s. It's also an Italian style. And King School is named for him, but it's also named for his father and his grandfather. His father was a judge, and his grandfather developed the Akron plan of schooling in a public-based education. Here's another view of his house in the 1920s. It's been added on, but it is now the Harbaugh Piano Factory. And if you look over here, it says Steinway Pianos, which is kind of interesting because there's going to be another Steinway piano showroom down the street. Okay, this is the house of C.W. Bonstead. And this is a much more modest house. But because his main job was he was a grocer. But it's just such a classic Italianate style house that I threw it in. And here he is. He's a C.W. Bonstead. He's a grocer. His business was at 45 East Market, which is the Hermes building, where the Blue Plate is, the restaurant, right there in that first block. And I don't know if you can see it, but over here, it says, he doesn't just sell groceries, he sells fancy groceries. Which is probably how he could afford that house. And then this is the house of Ferdinand Schumacher. And this is a subcategory of Italianate called an Italian villa. About 15% of Italianate houses have a tower. And this one certainly has a tower. And Ferdinand Schumacher was the cereal king of America. He came from Germany and he invented a machine to cut oats, to make oatmeal. Before he did that, all oatmeal was imported. And he did this right before the outbreak of the Civil War. And so he made a fortune selling oatmeal to the Union Army. And his oatmeal factory actually merged with another one owned by John Howard, and it became Quaker Oats. And we can remember when Quaker Oats was in downtown Akron. And Schumacher is given credit for that. His wife started the first kindergarten in Akron. So it was a private venture in his home, and there's all the little kindergartners back in the 1870s. Oh, I should tell you what's there now, a vacant lot. It's at the corner of College Street. And there used to be another building there that, but that's been torn down, so it's just a vacant lot. Then we have the house of Frank O'Weary. Frank Weary was a very prominent architect in Akron. He built some of the most famous buildings, like the Bookdale Hall, the one that we have now currently, after the original one burned down, the original Akron City Hall, what was then called Akron High School, and it became Central Howard, and it's been torn down. The Carnegie Library, that is now a law office, and many, many more. But this house, I believe, I'm gonna have to do more research, but I think that he either built this on the land that his father owned, like had an extra large lot, or he tore down his father's house to build this. This is a very, very eclectic style house with a shingle style, but all kinds of ornamentation, the eyebrow window up in the roof, and it's different. It's certainly not an Italianate. Okay, this is the house of John Arbuckle. I've been trying for years to get a better photo, but this is the only one I can get. It's a classic Italianate, and well, you know who John Arbuckle is. He made all of his money in farm machinery. He was the president of one of the companies. And he donated the money to start Bookdale College, which is the University of Akron. And we did the math. I forget how much he actually donated, but in today's dollars, it would be $7 million out of his own pocket. So you can see why they call this Millionaire's Row. And what stands there now? First Congregational Church. Okay, so this is right there. Okay, this is new. You're the first people that get to see this. I'm checking my time. After one of my presentations, a man came up to me and said, my great-grandfather lived in a big house on East Market Street. And he sent me the photos and his great-grandfather's biography and obituary. And his great-grandfather was John B. Woods. And this is another Italianate. I'm trying to think what John B. Woods did. I've been reading about him. But he made a lot of money also in real estate. And this house is at the intersection of Forge, trying to think. The Akron Child Guidance is there now, okay? Next, Judge Jacob Adams Kohler Mansion. Okay, this is a classic Italian villa. Look at that. I mean, it's imposing. He was a judge, a lawyer. He was actually served as the Attorney General of Ohio. And he also made a lot of money in real estate. And I think what's there now? I'm gonna look at my notes for a second. Oh, it's right there. Oh, it's at the corner of Union and Market. There's a PPG paint store there now, and a vacant storefront next to it. And then the next one we see is Philip Bach. And I have much less information on him, but he was elected the county auditor twice, but he made his money in, guess what? Real estate. But he was not a real estate developer. He was Akron's first real estate agent, and he made his money selling real estate. And then he also set up a loan system so people could get mortgages through him. So that's how he made his money. And this is a very different, it's not an Italianate. It's a much more high Victorian, sort of a lot of Gothic types of windows and rooftops. But what's there now? A BP station. Okay. Now this house, this is a Joseph Eward's house, and he was went to the Civil War. He made his money in clay products, especially roofing tiles. And this house was built in 1890 for about $40,000. It had 14 rooms and 7 fireplaces. This is a style of architecture called a Richardsonian Romanesque. You can see it's very different. It was only popular from 1880 to 1900 because Richardson died. He was only 40, I think, when he died. And this is all, I wrote down some comments about it because there's a bit of irony involved. So this house is typical of a Richardsonian Romanesque. They're almost always built of stone. They have round Romanesque arches. They have a lot of individual detailing from one to another and a medieval influence. But the thing I thought was so ironic is it says there was a sense of permanence. And obviously it wasn't permanent. This is a sad, sad picture in the mid-30s where the house has become, well, they were just about to tear it down, but it was a used tire store. And of course, one of the things that led to these houses being torn down was the fact that when they were built, it was the east side was Millionaire's Row. But when the tire factories began spewing, fumes and smoke, then everyone moved to the east side. I mean, the west side, moved to the west side and built their mansions on Portage Path and Merriman Road, etc. So then it was hard to keep, people who could afford these houses couldn't keep them up, and especially during the Depression. So this was, I think, raised in 1934. Okay, Jacob Good. Okay, Jacob Good had many, many jobs. He actually went to the gold rush in California in the 50s. He was a grocer, a brewer, had a shoe store, another store, and but he bought 25 acres at the corner of Forge and Market, and that's where he made his money, dividing those up into lots and selling them. So again, wow, look at that tower. That's got to be the highest one that we'll see, I'm pretty sure. But let's keep going. Okay, this house was next door to the other Richardsonian Romanesque Ewart's house. Again, I've got a picture of it just before it was torn down. It was Mrs. Charlotte Hankey's home. She built it. She didn't inherit it when her husband died, but she did inherit his lumber business, and she made the money and had this house built. And this would be right across the street from where Jack Horner's was. And this is Dr. Stanley Barch's estate, another fantastic Italian villa. This, he made his money, not as a doctor, I sure made a little, but real estate again. And there's a Barch's Street just south of Goodyear, Goodrich plant. That whole area he developed. Okay. So there's a lot of houses that he built are still there, or he sold the lots anyway. And this house became City Hospital. Okay, so this was the first Akron City Hospital, and that's where it stood. The H.B. Manton Mansion. Okay, the last three houses we're going to see are all related to Robinson Clay Products. Manton was the son of the co-founder of Robinson Clay Products, but his mother was a Robinson, Elizabeth Robinson. His father was the co-founder, and he was president of the Robinson Clay Products from 1909 to 1941. And what's there now? A Burger King. I had to stop last night and go in the Burger King and say, what's your address? You know? Well, there used to be a mansion here. Okay, this is at 702 East Market. Basically, these houses I'm showing you from Summit Street to Bookdale Avenue. This was just beyond that intersection. And of course, this is a much newer house, built after the turn of the last century. Frank Reed, Dr. Frank Reed, well, he was a doctor, but that's not how he made his money. His wife was a Robinson. So this is the little enclave of family members of the Robinson Clay factory. And last but not least, this is the Byron Robinson Mansion. This is the only one that's still there. And this is what it looks like now. I just took that last night. And this house, Byron Robinson was from the Robinson Clay Products family. They made primarily their money in pottery sewer pipes. So right at the time that all the infrastructure was going into all the cities in the United, especially the eastern United States, they're selling their sewer pipes. And this house is an unusual style. It's called Jacobean Revival, and it's gone through an unusual lifestyle. Byron died a couple years after the house was built, but his wife, Zilletta, stayed there until her death in the mid-30s. And then this became the Florence Crittenden home. And it was the Florence Crittenden home until the early 70s, like 71 or 72. And then it became Lone Star Fraternity House. And I'm stunned that they didn't do any damage, apparently. Anyway, and then it became the Steinway Piano Showroom. So the Steinway Piano Showroom just moved on down East Market. And then it sat empty for 8 years, and Tony Trophy bought it, and he's completely restored it, and it is now Akron Pregnancy Services. So there's a little circle of life coming from a Florence Crittenden home for unwed mothers to Akron Pregnancy Services. And we can stop now, or I can show you inside.
Let's go inside.
Let's go inside. Okay, this is a very, very unusual, I'll go back, a very unusual architectural style called Jacobean Revival. And Jacobean refers to King James I of England and Scotland. And this is very, very rare that it's used in a residence. It's mostly used in university buildings and maybe a city hall here or there. But if it is used in a residence, it's a big residence. This one had 40 rooms, 7 fireplaces. And this is, the woodwork is just stunning. But an arched doorway is an example of Jacobean revival. And all the woodwork and this is the living room. And this is what's amazing. This is what's amazing. This is on the landing on the stairway. And the Lone Stars didn't break it. I was so surprised. And okay, then we go back to the Charlotte Hankey Mansion. And this is what happened to it. And anyway, it's just we can close with Chrissy Hyde. My city was gone. And that's it for today.
So real quick, I unfortunately have to step out, but I had a comment. You said that you didn't, you couldn't remember the John D. Woods, so I just Googled real quick.
Oh, I've got it here now.
I was fascinated, but I don't know if you guys know, the great-great-grandson is our very own Jack Herrick. He was cited in the Beacon Journal.
Right.
And John founded like the Exchange Bank, City National Bank, so after mill work, he went and founded the banks. But I did a quick John D. Woods quick search, and it's like, oh, Coventry resident, Jack Herrick. I'm like, it's gotta be Jack. So,
it is.
It was him, so.
It is. He came up to me after another presentation. It wasn't this presentation.
Yeah.
It was a different one, and offered to give me the information on his great-grandfather.
I thought that was great. So thank you. I have to step out. Thank you very, very much.
Dr. Christie, do you have any idea why these folks who were entrepreneurial and very successful decided to come to Akron in the first place?
I think it's different for each person, but a lot of them, I would say, were born in farm areas surrounding, like Springfield Township, Uniontown, maybe Norton, and that's very rural agricultural. And if they wanted to get into some type of business, they came to the metropolis of Akron.
I just feel like a comment, talk about all these houses being torn down, and there seems to be no lack of care, care about these old homes and residences, and you're really seeing that, there's been 2 Akron Public Schools that have burned down, and they turn down, and they fall down. Nobody seems to really care about these old buildings. Does your organization do anything to try to
absolutely,
or help? Or I have a 100-year-old home now. Hopefully mine will be standing in 100 years. But
one of the things that we've done is we worked with the university for years, even before the fire, at the old St. Paul's Church, the Ballet Center. We worked with them to try and, impress them with the importance. They've torn down lots and lots of historic homes over there on Fur Hill and other areas. And then there was the fire, so it became a more difficult task. But we did get to the point where the university agreed not to sell the 2 churches to someone who's going to tear them down and put up a Dunkin' Donuts or, another gas station. And then when it came up for bids, they put the 2 buildings up for bids. Tony Trophy bought them. So, but I called Tony and said, they're going up on auction. Are you interested? And he bought them. So Tony is restoring them. In fact, the last couple times I've driven by, I see some new windows already going in. Into the burned part of the church. So other things that we've worked on successfully is the Civic Theater. I think we were adamantly opposed to the 1990 idea to take the interior out and put it into another new building in a different location. And, we have monthly meetings where we talk about historic structures and the history of Akron. So we do quite a bit, actually, of advocating.
Can we ask you to pick we have a raffle, just pick one and read the number.
219-885.
Thank you, Doug.
Oh, you can call me Alice.
Alice, thank you. Very impressive.
Yeah, I would put.
And you're a little sad.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Let's try it.
What's my price, $5?
You see, maybe a toothpick and salt and
Thank you, Dr. Christie. That was both impressive and kind of sad at the same time to know that we've lost so many wonderful structures. Hopefully, we get wiser as time moves on and we understand things are worth keeping. Next week's speaker is Patty Dodd-Smith, President and CEO of the National First Ladies Library and Museum. And unless we have any additional library business, this will conclude our meeting. Thanks for coming.